Right. Woo! Not how I wanted to start. Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. Gotham Comics here. I said I'd be back with a video on my big purchase that was in my top 50 key issues. And so I had some time tonight and I figured I'd do it. I am doing this live, but I just, before I even really get started, I want to tell everybody, like, this is the method that worked for me. This is the first real mega key that I made a concerted effort to get. I totally recognize not everybody's in my financial situation. Everyone's different. Everyone goes about collecting differently. But this is what worked for me in terms of buying a comic book key. So I actually have 3 or so steps that I have identified in terms of the how-tos of buying a mega key. I'm going to put them up right now. All right? Dead Clone, what's up, man? So these are my 3 steps, okay? I truly believe, even though everyone's different, if you do these 3 things, hey, Cougar Comics, he's taking notes. All right, so I truly believe if you do these 3 things, you can have almost any key you want. I mean, it's within reason, but I'll get into it. And I'm going to combine the story of how I got this book with the 3 steps that I've identified. So step 1 is actually harder than you would think. Step 1 is identify the book. Unless you have like gobs and gobs and gobs of money to spend, and I'm talking like disposable income in the tens of thousands, you can't just throw big money at any old book. If you're going to put this amount of money in a book, I think it has to be something you're going to love, something you're going to cherish, even if it's something you want to invest in. I truly believe like you need to lay it all on the table and figure out what you want. So for me, about a year and a half ago, I was kind of taking stock of my collection, and I had a lot of great books, don't get me wrong. But I ran into 2 things. One, I found that the key books I did have were in kind of low grade, and I wasn't really comfortable with that. And 2, even though the books I had were key, they were sort of like, they were of a certain echelon, like they were B-level keys or C-level keys. So I'm really grateful to have, the first appearance of Black Widow, and I'm really grateful to have the first appearance of Sergeant Fury. Black Widow is only mid-grade, and Sergeant Fury is low-grade. I had nothing of the level of Fantastic Four number 5. And I also realized, like at the beginning, when I was going for a big book, I had to realize, there are some books that no matter what you do, like in my position, I wasn't going to be able to afford any old key. So I wasn't going to be able to afford an Amazing Fantasy 15, a Tales of Suspense 39. I pretty much realized that my ceiling for how much to spend was about $1,500. I'm just taking some water here. So when I kind of put all that together, there were very few books that I could actually get in mid grade, in solid grade, that would fit under that threshold. So Fantastic Four number 5 was certainly one. I thought about Strange Tales 110. I thought about Amazing Spider-Man number 3. For a little while, I thought I could do Journey into Mystery 83, but that changed pretty quickly. And then there are a few DC keys. The first Supergirl. But when everything was said and done, like I realized that Fantastic Four number 5, being that it's the first appearance of Doctor Doom, the king of the Marvel villains, this was going to be the book for me. So I identified the book, and immediately I put my budget at like about $1,000 and a really nice copy. I was going to go, $1,500, and I was also okay buying it raw. And I changed my opinion on that later on. So that leads me to step 2, which is accept the cost and assemble the funds. So I accepted that this is the book I wanted. I was going to put a lot of effort into this one. I needed to come up with about $1,000. and I wasn't like, so like I try to be as proactive as I can. Like, I have student loans, I have car payments, I have car insurance. I'm fortunate enough to live at home, and I recognize that everybody has that luxury, but I also still like to go out. I have a girlfriend. I put money aside for retirement. So I was going to try to assemble funds the best way I could, which is to sell comic books that I wasn't attached to or that I could part ways with and then find in the future. So this is a list of some of the books I sold to make this purchase happen. I sold a low grade Amazing Spider-Man 13, low grade 19, low grade 50, pretty nice copy of the first Prowler, beat up copy of 101, beat up copy of 300, Journey into Mystery 89, the first Absorbing Man, coverless copy of Detective Comics 359, Marvel Premiere 15, first Iron Fist, first Luke Cage, first Carol Danvers, low grade copy of Red Suit Daredevil, Spider-Man 121, 122, and 700, a Green Lantern 76, and there were a bunch of whole like mini lots that I sold off, and that's not even the half of it. There were a lot. Like, this is just what I could remember. I probably have sold like 50 books, and to be honest, I still haven't come close. But just to let you know, it took me about 8 months to get to the $1,500 mark. Okay, so time for a shout out. Time for 2 shout outs. Well, I'll just keep it at one. I'll just keep it at one. Anthony Reaper Tate, who is just a great guy. I mean, if you're not subscribed to him, please do. Please do subscribe to him. He knows so much about comics, and he gives such sage advice, and he worked with me throughout this entire process. He really like helped reason with me, like what was a good copy, what wasn't a good copy, how best to spend my money. And he kind of, I actually thought that I could get this book for less than $1,000 in like this type of shape, non-graded, like raw. And he was kind of the one to be like, Julian, like this book is just it's going up and up, and I just don't see it as a book that's less than $1,000. So I had about 1,500 assembled in PayPal, maybe a little less. And one pops up, a raw copy. The seller on eBay puts it up for auction. He says it's about 4.5. It actually looks really nice. And long story short, I ended up winning it in mid-June. So I win the book. I end up paying about $1,300 for it. And simultaneously, by the way, I was also looking at one on Comic Link that was a CBCS graded 4.5. And for some reason, I liked the condition of the raw one that I had on eBay more. So I win the book. It comes in. I'm all excited. I open it up. It's packed beautifully. I read it. It's everything I wanted and more. I'm going to make plans to CGC it. But before I do, because I have 30 days with eBay's money back guarantee, I decided to bring it to my local comic book store owner. Just took some more water. And anyway, so I take it to my local comic book store, and the owner, who's a really good friend of mine, he says, Julian, Cougar Comics, I if you want to know, I will tell you who it is. But there's more to the story, guys, so don't go anywhere yet. So I bring it to my comic book store, and he says, Julian, like this book looks trimmed, and I think there's some funny business going on along the spine. And automatically I start freaking out because I've had friends who, they buy really nice copies of books, and they send them out to be CGC'd, and they come back purple labeled because they've been trimmed. And immediately I started freaking out. So I reached out to the seller. I said, okay, I know that this was packaged well, and that we agreed on a price, and that I paid it and won it at auction, but I don't want this book right now because I think it's been trimmed. I have reason to believe it's been trimmed. I actually asked more people. I asked Anthony. I asked ETA Nick. Pretty much everybody agreed that there was something wrong with the book. So the seller responded to me when I asked him via eBay, and he said, this book is not trimmed. There's no restoration whatsoever. I am so confident that this book isn't trimmed that I will extend your guarantee time, and I will allow you to send the book to CGC. And if CGC says the book is restored, I will refund you the money of the book and the cost of grading. So I was like, you know what, this is kind of a win-win. Like, I did want the book, and I did want to get it slabbed, so let's just see what's going on here. So I send it out to get graded. I rush it. I think it was like $120, $130 to send it to Florida. And they actually moved pretty quickly to get it graded, and they sent it right back to me. And it actually came back graded 4.5, which is exactly what he said it was. However, it came back with a purple label because there had been a tear seal. And for those of you who don't know, a tear seal is basically, if there's any kind of spine split, like a small tear, it's basically glue to seal it up. Really hard to detect. Even like comic book veterans will have like a hard time detecting tear seals. So begrudgingly, the seller agrees to take the book back, but he tells me, I'm not going to take the book back until you send it to me and let me resell it, and then I'll refund you the money. And that just lit up a whole bunch of red flags, and I had to get eBay involved and PayPal involved. And basically, like, I froze this guy out of his account until he paid me my money back, because I thought it was bullshit that I had to get rid of the book, like send him the book before, and then allow him to resell it before he gave me my money back. I just thought that was crazy. You know, you're contractually obliged to pay someone their money back, and to allow returns. And so I will not buy from this seller anymore. I am not right. The purpose of this book is how to buy a key issue. It's not to cast blame or bad PR on a seller. If you want to know who it is, I would gladly tell you. You can private message me and we can discuss it privately. I have no problem doing that. I just don't want to do it out in the open. So anyway, long story short, the drama all got resolved, and I sent the book back. And yeah. Sorry guys, needed some water. Okay. So I was talking to not to eBay. I was talking to Anthony Repertate after this whole fiasco, and I had gotten my money back, and I was pretty like sour. I had a lot of sour grapes. I was so pissed off. Hey, Alex the Comic Quarter's here. He knows a thing or two about key issues. Just picked up an Amazing Fantasy 15. Good for him. Alex, respond to your text, damn it. I texted you saying congratulations. This is the thing about Alex the Comic Book Hoarder. Sometimes he ignores me. I don't know, man. I don't know. What's a guy got to do to get some love from Alex the Comic Book Hoarder? Anyway. Sorry, Alex. I'm only just busting balls. Okay. So, I was talking to Anthony Repertate, and I was just so upset. I was so done with this hunt for this book. And I still had money in PayPal. And my birthday came up around the end of July. My birthday is actually July 30th. And the day of my birthday, I saw there was an Amazing Spider-Man 14 on eBay. And it was actually in mid-grade. And I ended up buying it. So I paid about $415, which is a really good deal in my opinion. And all of a sudden, the $1,500 in my PayPal turned into about $1,000. And that was in my top 50 video the other day, and I'm really happy to have that book. Like, that was a birthday gift to myself, so happy. From the rest of the summer until like the early fall, I was just buying books, selling books here and there. I was basically around $1,000 left in PayPal. And I had really forgotten about Fantastic Four #5 and buying a big book. So at work, what I like to do is, just around my lunch hour, is just keep a tab open and have a look at what gets newly listed on eBay. And this book popped up. And it was a 5.0 graded, as you can see, as I showed the other day. And immediately I see the seller is Dan Gallo. Now, Dan Gallo is someone from the New York, New Jersey area. He's someone that Anthony Repertate trusts. He's bought books from him in the past. Jimmy C has purchased from him. I see, actually, I found them on Facebook, and I found that we had a lot of mutual friends. And so kind of automatically I was like, okay, like this is someone I can trust. It's not going to be like someone who's going to double cross me, that like I don't know their reputation or whatever. So having someone who to trust and having people who can kind of steer you in the right direction, like Anthony did, definitely helps. But he had this on eBay. He had this book listed on eBay, and I'm going to be totally upfront about the costs. I want to be as much help to you guys as possible, because I know a lot of people want to be able to buy one of these books. So anyway, I found him on Facebook, and he wanted $2,300 for this book. Oh, Luther Manning's here. How you doing, Luther? Um, so anyway, he wanted 2,300. I really, really, really didn't want to spend more than 1,750. Graded 5.0, I said, you know what? I want the book really badly, and I actually think like this could actually be an investment book. And I know that a lot of people they really shy away from like comic books are investments. Like I mostly agree, but I do think some books can be investments. And for me, like I have a lot of reasons why this book is an investment type book. But basically, like what it came down to was if I could get this book at a 5.0 at a good deal, I was going to do it. I wanted to pay no more than $17.50, and so I got Reaper Tate on the phone, and I said, "Hey, Anthony, Dan Gallo's got this Fantastic Four #5. What do you think?" And I was kind of surprised because while he was realistic in telling me about how much this book should go for throughout the process, for basically an entire year. Once I told him about this opportunity, he said, "I think that if you have money in PayPal and you can sell some books over time to recoup the remainder of the cost, then you should absolutely go for it." So I had about $1,000 in PayPal, and I was able to talk Dan Gallo to $2,000. That was the best I could do, and I got this. And the remaining $1,000 I actually took out of my checking account. I had a lot of, I have like a baseline in my checking account of like a certain amount of money just for emergencies, and I'm able to save a decent amount every month. And at first I thought I'd have to go into my savings, but I didn't, and I'm really grateful that I didn't have to do that. So I went into my checking account and I took out about $1,000. I paid Dan Gallo, and I got the book the day after Black Friday. And I basically rationalized it as a book I've wanted for pretty much all my collecting years. It's an early Christmas present, and it's an investment. And this is precisely how I wanted it. I wanted a 5.0, a book that just a solid copy. Nothing like super high grade, because I wasn't going to be able to afford it. But that leads me to point number 3. Be patient and pull the trigger. So I think once you have the money to spend, it's really about finding the right copy. And not like in situations like this, you could probably find a 5.0 for like $3,000, and you could also find it for $2,000. And honestly, like it very well could be that one will fall through the cracks at like 1,800. I was kind of looking at Heritage Auctions and Comic Link the week that I bought this book, and they were kind of all around that general area. And to me, like I do think this book, that the price of it, the value will go up, but I also felt like the time was going to run out to get this. Oh my God, ETA Nick's here! Holy crap! Wow, ETA Nick. Man, I feel like a celebrity right now, and I have 13 people in the chat, and wow. Okay, anyway, I got to stop gushing. So I have this here as an asterisk. Accept it. Accept that you are going to spend $2,000 on a comic book. Like, I had to say that to myself a few times before I finally got the money out of PayPal. I just had to say, I'm going to spend $2,000 on a comic book. Now, $2,000 is more than I make in half a month's work. So it's no small sum. But everything was just kind of right in the moment to get that book. And that's what I did. So, Nick, no premeditation. I wasn't planning on having my 5-year video, my top 50 video, coincide with your 5-year video. But in the 5 years I've been collecting, I've never spent this much money on a comic. Before this book, I had spent, I think $400 was the most I had ever spent. So this book really is a huge step in my collection. I don't know when the next time I'm going to be able to buy one of these is. It's going to take me a long time to build up the necessary money. And honestly, I'm still paying this one off. I've got about $500 more to go. So I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting, certainly. I do know that I love the hobby, and there's certainly other books that I'd like to get that are of this level. I mean, I'd like to own a Spider-Man #1 someday. I'd like to own the first Iron Man someday. But I'm pretty realistic that I'm not going to be able to spend thousands of dollars in one fell swoop all at once. I just don't see that happening. But these 3 steps are what worked for me. So with that, I think this is a really good time. Actually, I'm going to keep this up. With that, and if I know the chat's pretty active, but if anyone has any thoughts on these steps, if you think it's an oversimplification, let me know. Maybe there's some stuff I missed. I know other people here have spent pretty decent money on books before, but while you guys discuss that, I'm gonna show you my my top 10 wish list for 2018. I'm not gonna be able to buy a book until at least January, because I don't want to buy anything new until I finish paying off the Doom. But this is my wish list for 2018. Hawkman 4, and this is in no particular order. Hawkman 4, Tales to Astonish 62, Amazing Spider-Man #3, Amazing Spider-Man #50, Strange Tales 110, Batman 232, Fantastic Four 13, Comico Primer 2, and 10 I have question marks because there's a lot of books that I want equally as much. I could there's just a lot of places to go. This book I want to get before it just goes stupid high and it's on its way. This one's just a cool cover. These 2 are from my runs. I've had 2 copies of this, but I've sold both of them, unfortunately. This one here is a lot like this one, but there is no way in hell I'm paying $1,000 for the first appearance of Doctor Strange. No, I won't do it. Batman 232 is tricky because it hides its defects really well. It's hard to see, even on eBay, even with high-res scans, it's hard to see creases or color fades on that book. So I'd like to buy that, probably CGC'd. Daredevil 7, I have to replace my copy that I've sold to finance the FF5. Fantastic Four 13, I was an idiot and I sold it last year. And I've been wanting it back. And then Comico Primer 2, I just really like Grendel. So those are the books I want come 2018. So, one last thing, because I got a lot of people here. A few weeks ago, I did a response video to Comic Fan Leaving, and I was pretty negative in that video, and I had brought to light some gripes I had with some people in the comic book community. And I didn't name any names, but you know what? Christmas season is here. I just kind of want to forgive and forget. It is a comic book community. I want to support the community as best I can. There were a few people that pissed me off over something, but it's honestly it's kid stuff. So it's forgotten. No hard feelings. The people probably don't even know that they made me upset about something, but whatever. I see that some people do want to maybe buy some books off me. If you do, I actually don't know what my eBay channel is, but you can find me on Instagram. A lot of it isn't, it's not the greatest stuff, but this is my Instagram. It's Boston Comicaholic. And anyway, I hope that this video can be instructive to uh, anyone out there in the comic community that wants to buy a big book. I consider myself a regular Joe with regular expenses, and I try to save and plan for the future, but I was able to get this book, and I think you can too, as long as you're willing to either save or sell or just, and just be patient. So that's what I got. I humbly give you these 3 steps, and I hope everyone has a great start to the holiday season. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.